In the high-stakes world of global logistics, speed is usually measured in knots or rail velocity, but sometimes speed is measured in administrative agility. While American port authorities from New York to Virginia are bogged down in committee meetings, debating the theoretical feasibility of alternative fuels, the Port of Halifax just sprinted past them. 3 weeks ago, Canada's Transport Minister Anita Anand announced a modest-sounding $25 million investment. To the casual observer, it was a footnote in a budget document. But to the titans of the global shipping industry, it was a starting gun. That $25 million is funding the immediate construction of North America's first comprehensive hydrogen refueling port. The infrastructure is already rising. A hydrogen production facility fueled by green energy, electric rail locomotives to move cargo inland, and bunkering systems to refuel the next generation of zero-emission vessels. By the time the ink dries on the environmental impact assessments in Boston or Charleston, Halifax will be operational. This is no longer a race, it is a fait accompli. With the European Union's mandatory carbon reporting regulations kicking in during 2026, shipping lines are desperate for carbon-neutral gateways. Halifax is building one. The United States is scheduling another meeting to talk about it. The result is a potential permanent shift in market share, fueled by Canadian strategic foresight and accelerated by the chaotic trade policies emanating from Washington. How does a relatively small sum like $25 million disrupt a multi-billion-dollar industry? It's all about timing and leverage. The investment isn't trying to rebuild the entire port. It is surgically targeting the specific bottlenecks that prevent green shipping. The project creates the Halifax-Hamburg Green Shipping Corridor. This is a direct, zero-emission trade route connecting Canada to Germany. It solves the chicken and egg problem of alternative fuels. Shipping companies like Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd have ordered methanol and hydrogen-powered vessels, but they have nowhere to refuel them in North America. Halifax is providing the solution. 1. A hydrogen production facility located directly at the port, powered by Nova Scotia's renewable hydroelectric grid. This eliminates the need to transport hazardous fuels over long distances. 2. Specialized equipment to transfer alternative fuels to vessels efficiently, ensuring that green doesn't mean slow. 3. A new electric locomotive to shunt cargo from ships to the CN rail main line, ensuring the carbon-neutral chain doesn't break at the dockside. This infrastructure effectively creates a green lane for transatlantic trade. European manufacturers, German automotive giants, chemical producers, and machinery exporters can route their goods through Hamburg to Halifax and claim a completely carbon-neutral journey. To understand why this matters, you have to look at Brussels, not just Ottawa. The European Union has implemented strict emissions trading and reporting schemes that fully take effect in 2026. Shipping companies are no longer just encouraged to be green, they are financially penalized if they are not. For a logistics manager in Stuttgart or Munich, the choice is becoming a binary calculation. Option A. Ship via the Port of New York and New Jersey. Use conventional diesel vessels because there is no hydrogen bunkering. Pay heavy carbon taxes and report a high carbon footprint in your mandatory EU filings. Option B. Ship via Halifax. Use a new hydrogen-powered vessel. Transfer cargo to an electric rail line. Report zero emissions for the transatlantic leg of your supply chain. As carbon taxes rise and corporate ESG, environmental, social, and governance mandates harden, option A becomes prohibitively expensive. Halifax is betting the farm that green shipping is becoming mandatory, not optional. By building the infrastructure now, they are positioning themselves to capture the high-value European traffic before American ports even wake up to the reality of the new market. While Halifax pours concrete, American ports are drowning in paperwork. The contrast in regulatory velocity is stark. The Port of New York and New Jersey, the busiest on the East Coast handling 9.4 million containers annually, has vast resources but zero agility. It is a jurisdictional nightmare involving 2 states, dozens of municipalities, and a labyrinth of federal agencies. Building a hydrogen plant in the New York metropolitan area requires a consensus that simply does not exist. It involves years of environmental impact statements, safety reviews, and community consultations. The situation is similar in Virginia, Charleston, and Savannah. There are plenty of press releases about sustainability goals for 2040 or 2050, but there is no steel in the ground for 2026. U.S. maritime regulations were not written for the hydrogen age, and the bureaucratic inertia is immense. Halifax, by contrast, operates in a streamlined regulatory environment. The Canadian federal government, the province of Nova Scotia, and the Port Authority are aligned. Approvals that take 5 years in the U.S. are being cleared in months in Canada. This regulatory arbitrage is allowing Halifax to steal a 3 to 4 year march on its American competitors. Critics of Halifax have always pointed to its geography. It sits on the far eastern edge of the continent, 1,500 kilometers from Toronto and 2,000 kilometers from the industrial hub of Chicago. Historically, this distance was a disadvantage compared to the proximity of New York or Norfolk. However, the green shipping revolution flips this logic. The cargo has to move inland, and rail is far more efficient than trucking. The Halifax investment includes incentives to shift freight to rail and the introduction of electric locomotives. CN Rail connects Halifax to the entire North American grid. By electrifying the port-to-mainline connection, Halifax offers a green rail solution. A container can move from Hamburg to Halifax on hydrogen and then onto a train to Chicago. Compare this to the U.S. East Coast. While rail connections exist, they rely on diesel locomotives. Furthermore, the congestion at major U.S. ports often forces cargo onto trucks for the first leg of the journey, destroying the carbon advantage. For a European company shipping to the American Midwest, the Halifax route offers a way to bypass not just U.S. port congestion, but U.S. carbon intensity. You can deliver to Chicago via Canada and claim a lower carbon footprint than shipping to Chicago via New York. If the green infrastructure provides the pull to Halifax, the current political climate in the United States provides the push. Donald Trump's erratic trade policies, tariffs on steel, threats against Canadian goods, and a general posture of economic nationalism have spooked global supply chains. Logistics hates uncertainty. European shipping lines, watching Washington threaten to tear up trade agreements or impose arbitrary levies, are looking for safe harbors. Canada offers stability. It offers a predictable regulatory environment and a government that is actively courting international trade rather than threatening it. The Halifax investment fits into a broader Canadian strategy to create tariff-proof corridors. Whether it's the Trans-Mountain Pipeline looking to Asia or the Arctic Gateway looking to Europe, Canada is building infrastructure that circumvents American choke points. Shipping lines like Hapag-Lloyd, based in Hamburg, Maersk, Denmark, and CMA-CGM, France, are already adjusting their networks. They are the whales of the Atlantic trade. If they decide to make Halifax their primary hub for green vessels to avoid U.S. political and regulatory risk, they will drag the entire supply chain north with them. There is a final, uncomfortable dimension to this shift: labor and automation. American ports have remained labor-intensive, largely due to the power of longshoremen unions, which have successfully resisted automation to protect jobs. This has kept operating costs high and efficiency lower than global standards. Halifax's new green infrastructure is inherently high-tech and automated. Hydrogen refueling is not a manual bucket brigade. It is a precision engineering process. The electric rail systems are highly automated. This means Halifax can handle cargo with fewer workers per container than its American rivals. This creates a double competitive advantage: lower carbon and lower operating costs. As traffic shifts to Halifax, the jobs at American ports won't vanish overnight, but they will bleed away. A reduction in container volume at New York or Virginia means fewer shifts for dock workers, fewer contracts for truckers, and less revenue for the regional economy. It is a slow-motion economic defeat caused by a refusal to modernize. The $25 million check written by Ottawa is likely the best return on investment in the history of Canadian infrastructure. It has bought Halifax a monopoly on the future of transatlantic shipping for at least the next half-decade. By the time the Port of New York breaks ground on a hydrogen facility, likely in 2030 or beyond, Halifax will have established deep, sticky relationships with European carriers. Supply chains are like rivers. Once they cut a new channel, it is very difficult to force them back to the old one. Warehouses will be built in Nova Scotia. Logistics teams will be hired in Halifax. Customs procedures will be streamlined. This isn't just about a few green ships. It is about the permanent realignment of North American trade flows. While America debated feasibility, Canada built the future. And now, the ships are turning north.